with Jeremy Anderson, and we're at the Ornery Mule Racing YouTube channel. And how was your drive here today, Jeremy?
Long.
Where'd you come from?
I came from Green Bay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Did you know? You didn't know
I
that's
didn't know
where.
that.
3 hours and
Oh my.
20 minutes.
Thank you for coming all this way.
Thank you for inviting me.
I thought my hour and 15-minute drive was far.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain anymore now.
And 2
Yeah.
hours of drive this morning, too.
Well, and you worked all day today,
Yes.
so you came
And
straight
work.
from work.
Yes. Busy day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you.
And so you did Kettle Moraine 100 this year, and you were quite a hit at the finish line.
I saw you.
There's some people that now know who I am.
Yeah. How many ultras have you done before Kettle?
Before Kettle, I did one.
Okay.
I did the North Face 50K.
Okay. 50K.
And actually, then I took another shot at a 50-miler after that, Glacial Trail, and I DNF'd that one. So, in all reality, I went from a 50K to a 100-mile.
That is really impressive.
That's awesome.
So, the last road marathon that I ran, I just didn't get the same feeling out of it after finishing. And I started looking on YouTube a little bit and checking out some things and seeing some videos. And I said, maybe that'll do it for me. And it has. I'm hooked.
Yay.
How long have you been running?
I started running in 2014, I believe.
Okay.
Went from not being able to run at all, overweight, unhealthy, just doing nothing, and had a few health issues. Started doing a little bit of running. Actually started a little bit of gym work, and just really wanted to get on a treadmill because my sister had run a marathon while she was stationed in Afghanistan. And during that time, I decided that to honor her, that I was going to sign up for a marathon 14 months away that I couldn't run at all. So it became a personal journey for me starting there. And 14 months later, I finished my first marathon.
And which
Nice.
marathon was that?
That was the Cellcom Marathon in Green Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So do you just have one sister or?
I have 2 sisters and 1 brother.
Oh, okay.
Yep. I'm the oldest.
Uh-huh.
My brother's 10 years younger than me. He's the youngest.
And do you guys all live in, your sister obviously is in the service, but
Yep.
does your brother live?
She's retired now in the service, but she lives in lower Michigan.
Okay.
My brother and my sister, my parents live in in the UP.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
cool. They're Yoopers.
They are. They are.
Did your family grow up running?
No,
Okay.
none.
Yeah.
Nobody. Matter of fact, there's myself and Tiffany, my sister, the oldest sister. We're the black sheep.
Yeah.
We're the runners, so we're the black sheep. The rest of them keep trying to nudge us into just sitting on the couch and eating potato chips. So
Yeah. Do they worry about your knees and?
not really. They just say we're crazy.
Yeah. So you went, I mean, that's such a quick transition to go from a 50K and then one day you're like, well, maybe I should just do 100. So you're looking for another race. What made you decide to do Kettle Moraine 100?
When I first started looking into ultra running, I mean, most of the excitement was with the 100-miler. And I said, I'm going to do this 50K and then maybe not the following, but the year after, I'll do a 100-miler. And I had run into people that have run Kettle, and I thought it would be great to do it, fairly nearby, and not realizing what it was going to take to get there. But when I saw the progression of where I went to start with to the marathon, just in that progression, it was just steady moving, getting better and better, faster and faster, longer and longer. And to me, all the excitement was in the 100. So basically, I was looking at a year and a half before my first 100. Well, I did 50K, then I did a 50 mile, DNF'd, and once the year opened up, I had been saying, I'm going to run Kettle, I'm going to run Kettle, I'm going to run Kettle. I told my sister, I said, will you crew with me? Yep, I'll crew you. I don't think either of us really thought it was going to happen. But when it opened up on New Year's Day, she texted me, and I was on the treadmill, and she said, they're almost full. Mm-hmm. And then I was stuck.
So you had to decide that day.
I already had all my info in there.
Yeah.
But I just kind of stepped away, like, I can't really do this. It was easy to say it, but now I got to sign up, and then I got to train.
Mm-hmm. And you've told somebody.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That was your first
Yes.
mistake.
and she said, I'm going to come and I'm going to crew you.
Yeah.
With a 7-8 hour drive, whatever it is for her. Mm-hmm. And so that started the time. The clock was ticking.
So what did you do for your training to get ready for it? So you already were you were physically fit. You're obviously on a
Right.
treadmill running when
Right.
registration opened up. What
Yep.
did you start to do to prepare after that?
Well, I have a coach that kind of brought me to the first 50K because I was scared. I didn't know what was going to happen. I know running road marathons, I always struggled at, I'd bonk at 20 miles, 22 miles.
And who's your coach?
Her name's Carrie Miller.
Okay.
And just a wonderful, wonderful person. And she's just done the world for me. So as soon as I got done, hit the button, I texted her and I said, well, it's time to saddle up. And she was so excited because that race means a lot to her. She did it, I want to say in 15 or 16. And it was like a major, major milestone for her.
Okay.
And she's a very accomplished runner, but it was a major milestone for her. So she was extremely excited about helping me through that journey. And she's a wonderful person and really ended up pacing me and getting me to the finish line.
Oh,
Nice.
that's cool.
Yeah. She's awesome.
What kind of workouts did she have you doing?
For Kettle, we did a lot of strength workouts. We did. I tried to do a lot of trail workouts, and I'm sure down here you're probably pretty similar to what we had. But it was very cold. It was a lot of snow, and we encountered a lot of ice as well. So my trails that I would typically run, I couldn't run them. They were unrunnable. I went up there one day, and it was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. There was no way I could do it. So I did more treadmill running of all things than anything all winter.
Wow.
But when I could, I would get outside. If it was cold, I didn't mind. But when it was ice and snow, not so much snow even, but the ice was the bad one. Mm-hmm. But we have a trail, the Fox River Trail in Green Bay that's runs along the Fox River, and they actually plow and salt it all year. So when it wasn't terribly, terribly cold, and if they had it plowed, I'd go out there and run it. But I spent a lot of time on a treadmill, and training for a 100-mile race on a treadmill sucks.
It was an
Yeah.
especially hard winter,
It
right?
was.
It
It
really
was.
was. The trails were tough, but
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
You were scared enough to get on that treadmill because you were
Yeah.
signed up for something that scared you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. But she got me through the training, and we did, no speed work. It was all it was hills. It was obviously long runs. And I got there and I was like trained.
Yeah.
Trained. I mean, I was so nervous because I hadn't run a lot of trails over the winter. And I really had only run trails from like June to like October. That was
Okay.
all my trail running. I'd never run a trail before in my life.
Yeah.
So, 5 months, and that was it. So I got out to, once it did start to get nice, well, it was almost time to taper by then. Mm-hmm. But it turned out, I was fit. Once I got there, I was fit, and I got to the start line and felt good.
Yeah. So you were confident did you feel
I was
confident?
confident.
Okay,
I was.
good.
Couple weeks leading up, I was kind of having a meltdown, like haven't run trails, and I had run up a small portion of the southern Kettles once, and then the North Face. But in general, this was nerve wracking. But one thing that Carrie is great about is just getting that mental side. That's probably her biggest thing to me. That how the value she is to me is being able to have that mental side of it and be confident and know that you did everything you can do to get there and that you're going to be able to make it. And so by the time I got there, probably a week in advance, I finally took a deep breath and said, you know what? I did a lot of work. I put on a lot of miles. I'm going to do this.
So you got to the starting line and you were feeling fairly calm on race morning then?
I was feeling terrible because I got almost to Nordic, realized I forgot my bib at the campground.
Oh no.
So I had to slam the brakes on, turn around, head back, went to my camper, got my bib, came back. I had, I think, 6 minutes left.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh.
Still had to get my chip. I never wore a chip before. I put it on up inside out.
Yeah.
And the woman's like, no, that's going to hurt if you do that.
Oh.
So I put it on the right way
Yeah.
and got kind of in the corral. And all of a sudden I start freaking out badly. And the fortunate thing is I didn't have enough time to freak out too bad.
Yeah,
And,
so a short
Yep.
period of time.
So I, once we were off, it was just forgot about it and just get after it.
Yeah. So tell me about race day. Like what were the challenges? I know I was there. I know what the weather was like, but you tell me about it.
Well, first of all, up until, I don't know, probably up until last fall, I'd never run in the rain. I mean, it sounds stupid, but I just never run in the rain. I was
Yeah.
always freaked out about blisters and, being a road runner, I was just freaked out about just the whole thing, falling and all that kind of stuff. Into my training, obviously with the winter, it became a bit of a requirement to be uncomfortable and go through, all different types of precipitation and temperatures and all that stuff. So when it was raining, it was kind of like, this is going to be kind of rough, but we'll just see what happens. So, like I said, once the gun went off, we were out, we were gone, we were doing fine. The first 50K was just as smooth as can be, smooth as silk. It was, I would just felt better than probably I ever have in any race and anything I've ever felt that first 50K.
Oh, that's great. That
Yeah.
means you were running smart. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I was running, I was a little bit quicker than I should have been, but, my game plan was I was going to bang time in the beginning and I was going to suck at the end. And
Well, you ran very well. You did what, like 26 hours
26:41, I think. Yeah.
for a
That's
first
really good.
100 at Kettle.
That's really good.
That- It's
But at mile 74, right before whatever that aid station is, 75, I think, or it was a mile away from that aid station. It was dark and there was some line of runners coming our way, and my pacer and I were here, and she stepped to the side and to let them by. I stepped to the side. I stepped in a washout and sprained my ankle.
Oh,
oh
no.
man.
And I sprained it pretty badly. I mean, I'm not trying to be a baby, but I couldn't put weight on it. I couldn't stand. I couldn't. I was kind of dead in the water at that point. And all I saw flashing before my eyes is being taken out, somehow making it to the next aid station and then being given a ride back and throwing all that training away that I did and all that time and all that effort and all the sacrifice that not me, but that everybody put out for me, that they sacrificed for me,
Yeah.
and throwing all away. And this is where my coach, my pacer, really came into play and just said, you know what? It's time to run with your heart. You can't run with your leg. You got to run with your heart. Mm-hmm. And it was like one step, and got to the next aid station, iced, taped, prayed, and long story short, the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 26:41, not many people really, I think, keep track of time, but
Yeah.
but that time to me was absolutely phenomenal because I did a quarter of it on one leg,
Yeah.
you know, and that I think is what there's a lot of things that made that day special. But I think that's one of the biggest things is I learned that I'm a lot stronger mentally than I thought I was, than I gave myself credit for.
I think it's interesting that you brought up all the people that sacrifice for you to be there.
Yep.
And that's a big part of ultra running
Yes.
is, you know, it takes time to train.
Yes.
And so you have family then, and like, you know, talk about the people that were there for you and sacrificed for you to be able to do this.
Well, first of all, like I said, my pacer, I mean, for her to be there, I mean, she runs a pace company, so she's all over the place. She's constantly pacing something, and she's a very busy person. But she's told me if I'm medically able, I'm going to be there to pace you. She told me that a couple months in advance, and I would have never expected it, but she did. And
does she live in Green Bay?
she
then?
does also.
Okay.
Yeah. So she made the trip.
Yeah.
She came down. She hadn't been on trails in forever. She hadn't run more than, she had run Boston, but she kind of limped her way through it. But to run 39 miles, 38 miles without any experience or anything. And she did that. And that, I mean, I give so much credit to everybody that helped me. But for her and what she did, I mean, that she got me there. She got me there. But my sister, she was my crew chief. She was absolutely amazing. I mean, she drove 8 hours to get to me. She got there at about 2 a.m, to wake up at 4,
Yeah.
get over there, and then be awake for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Over 24 hours, and then drive back to Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the sacrifice that she gave, and she, as I said before, she was my inspiration to start running in general. And for her to give up that time and everything was just amazing. My kids were the next crew people, and that was their first crew gig, and they loved it.
Yeah.
They were there. The dog was there. But my kids did an awesome job. They were a huge inspiration for me too while I was there. They gave up not only that time, but all the time for, you know, from the last year and the time that they gave up with Dad. So that was pretty awesome. My brother showed up unbeknownst to anybody, I think. He just showed up in the middle of the night from Michigan for
Oh my gosh.
like 5 or 6 hour drive.
Wow.
Showed up, and I was like, couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Probably right before Nordic. And then he brought my 2 nieces, so they were there too.
Good.
Carrie's daughter was there. She's 10 years old. And then my significant other showed up as well. So
Nice.
the sacrifice, I mean, everybody knew how important this was to me, and they all sacrificed to come there. But I still say, and you talked about it, Michelle, that for what people sacrifice on the day-to-day, week-to-week basis, to me is just amazing. You know, that they would be able to do that and be good with that.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people wouldn't be okay with that, you know.
Yeah.
Your weekends are just shot for months at a time.
The ultra running community is so special because it just takes so many people working together to make, you know, one person finish, you know, the volunteers too at the aid station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how I can not cry for 30 hours straight every time I go to a race.
Absolutely. Yeah, that the volunteers were, I mean, unbelievable. Just that whole race day experience was just, it is something that I will never ever forget. And every time I see a video, or every time that something pops up, I just can't help but tear up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of crying when you crossed the finish line. I think that you had the most emotional finish.
Yep.
Well, you had a huge crowd.
Yep.
And
I'm very surprised that that this whole crowd could keep it together, because I'm like, if everybody that comes across the line is like this, how do people even keep it together? You,
Oh my gosh, I was crying for hours.
Yeah,
Right.
it was
hours.
hurting.
Kim,
Yep.
Kim, oh my God.
Yeah.
Kim was like a big favorite of my family.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh,
yeah. Yep.
yeah, we miss Kim.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was just amazing.
So I want to get back to the finish line because you had a very spectacular way of finishing that we hadn't seen before at a race. But let's like hold that off for a
Okay.
little bit later. And why don't you tell me about how you did drop bags and like, how did you prepare for race day? What kind of stuff did you bring?
Well, like I said, I'd run two ultras before, both unsupported or crewless, I should say. First time, didn't know what to expect. Didn't know, I just figured there's a lot of aid stations. I'm going to bring all this stuff, pack all these bags and drop them everywhere I can. And the more stuff, the better. And I think for a 50K, it was fine, even though it was longer than I've been used to. It was fine. It turned out fine. Didn't use a whole lot of it. When I ran Glacial, pretty much the same thing, but this one I was having a full crew, and so I didn't use any drop bags.
Okay.
I had like 4 bins of stuff, like way too much, like way too much. I just packed bins with anything I could think of.
What did you actually use?
I used one pair of shoes. I used 2
Was
pairs
that
of
after it
socks.
rained?
Yeah.
Where were you at
Yeah.
during that
I was at,
thunderstorm?
I think I changed at Scuppernong.
Okay.
I think I changed there. And then I changed socks, I think maybe at Emma. And after that, I got into Nordic. Didn't want to go back out.
Oh, really? So you actually...
Not really. I mean, it's
hard to
it was
leave
just
that area.
miserable.
That's a really
But
tough
my crew,
spot.
one thing that's kind of interesting is my crew, and Carrie being the ringleader, is I got to a point where she stopped pulling chairs out. She's like, there's no more sitting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Guess who got real cranky?
Yep.
I just want to sit down. We
Nope.
don't have time to sit down.
Nope.
Yeah.
And I had plenty of time,
Yeah.
but she knew that it was going to take that. So
And it's harder to get up after you've
it
sat
is.
down.
And especially every aid station,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time you click another aid station off, it gets that much harder. But so I think I was planning on changing. I had one more pair of shoes, and I was going to change them again, like around Rice Lake. Well, by that time, my ankle was the size of a grapefruit, and I just taking my shoes off would just be stupid.
Yeah.
So I just left it as is. I think I might have changed shirts once or twice, but really most of the stuff in those bins
Never got
stayed
used.
there. The clean clothes are still clean.
But they were peace of mind for you. You
Yeah.
were organized
For sure.
beforehand.
For sure. Yep. I mean, I had spreadsheets. I had the whole 9 yards, and having that list and looking at it, and never once did I think this is just too much stuff. Now I look back on it, and I'm like, that was too much stuff. But I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You have it. You need it. Great. The only problem I ran into is my crew had to haul them in and out every time.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah, we've been on
We've
that.
been there.
But they did have a wagon. They had a nice wagon to pull, put everything in and pull it in, pull it out.
Make a mental note. We need a wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the fold-up
Next time.
wagons.
Yeah, fold-up wagon.
It's perfect.
I saw one today at Bed Bath & Beyond.
My dad has one in his garage. Maybe I'll just take it.
Okay. So what would you bring next time? Like what do you think that you actually need? Like if you were do it again, would you bring less stuff? Maybe?
Oh, yeah, no. Well, I guess in reality, I have my list now, and it's kind of like I can just pack the same stuff and know that I didn't short myself anything. But in reality, like if I ran crewless, I'd bring way less.
Yeah.
I'd bring like a couple shirts, 2 pairs of shoes, maybe 4 or 5 pairs of socks, and that's about it.
And you'd feel confident
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used, I think only once I used an ice bandana in the, at Kettle, which came in handy, but then the temperature kind of dropped in the rain. And, so I was fine after that. Badger, when I ran Badger,
You needed that
past
ice
month, yeah,
bandana.
you had to have it there. Had to have it.
Yeah, you had a 50-mile finish
Yep.
there. That
Yeah.
was good.
Yep. Did that. Did Titletown before that for another 50. So
Oh, nice.
And Titletown was only like 2 weeks after Kettle.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a great course.
Yeah.
It's like springy.
It is.
Is it?
It is. I ran 30 there yesterday, and that's like my security blanket.
Oh,
I get in there
nice.
and I just feel good.
Really, I'm like, I want to drive up here and do it because it was like, it made running easy. It's really
Really?
nice.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, it really does. Yeah. And so I got to 50 miles there, and that was, well, it was a timed event, so it wasn't for my first actual 50 mile. And then Glacial was beginning of August, or I'm sorry, Badger was the beginning of August, and I whipped through that, and I was like, wow, this is much more pleasant, flat, fast, easy. So that was good. So that was my first actual 50-mile finish.
Nice.
So yeah, you just skipped over the 50-mile finish.
Right?
So after you did 100
After you did
first.
100,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And 100K. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pass that one too.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So what do you have coming up next?
Let's see. I have Hennepin.
Okay.
Yay.
Yep. So I'm really excited for that because I know the race director is pretty awesome.
I heard she is.
We'll get you an extra beer for that.
I have Hennepin, and then my long shot for next year. I'm kind of trying to plan out my calendar for next year, and I'm really going to try for Western States in Leadville,
Okay.
and I'm
Oh,
hoping
wow.
that I can get one of those in. I mean, obviously the odds are long, but somebody's got to be picked. So
Yeah.
why not me?
Yeah.
Well, Leadville, you can go in it as a group, and you get a better chance of getting into the race. So I know some people that are looking for other
Oh, that
people
would
in
be
their group.
that would be awesome.
Because
yeah.
isn't it if one gets in, everyone gets
Yeah.
in?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really looking to do a kind of a mountain race
Yeah.
next year, my first mountain race. So
Nice.
tinkered with the idea of Tahoe, but I don't know if I'm quite ready for that or not. I will be ready for it. I just whether or not I want to put the time in.
Yeah.
But I want to run a destination race either in the mountains out west or something in the east.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just have the one. I take that back. I do have a couple of pacing with my coach. She has a pacing company, so I'm doing a couple of pacing gigs in the next couple months.
Nice.
Oh,
Which
okay,
is cool,
good.
yeah.
Cool. Well, we should talk about your finish now. Why don't you tell us, everybody, what you did, and we're wondering why.
Well, cheers.
And are you doing it tonight?
I was advised that I should, but I said, you know what, we save that for certain kinds of occasions.
Yeah.
So I'm in a running group with people across the globe, people that are, mostly road runners. And there's one particular individual from Australia that ran the Grand to Grand, and his celebration was, and it's through the desert, obviously, and his celebration was to remove his freshly worn shoe and dump a beer in there and drink it out as celebration. I said, if I finish 100 miles, I'm going to do a shoey right on video. And so I finished, and after kind of some of the emotions cleared up on me, and I said, it's time.
It's time.
So, as you know, it was very messy out there.
Yeah.
Very dirty, muddy.
Yeah.
My shoes were like mud chunks. And so off came the shoe,
Yeah.
and
In went the
out
beer.
came the beer.
Yeah.
Yep.
What kind of beer was it?
I couldn't even tell you, to be honest. I couldn't even tell you. I think it was Miller Lite.
Okay.
And so dumped the beer and never thought twice about it. It wasn't no expectations. This was my celebration.
Yeah.
And dumped it in there and tipped it up and back it went. And wasn't until I was finished realized that did not taste very good.
So you could taste it.
The dirt, the sweat, mud chunks, all that. But you know what? It still was. It was worth every second.
It was
Yeah.
fun watching you do it. We were kind of in the back. We were like, oh my gosh, she's actually drinking it from a shoe.
I go to races, and people are like, "Hey, I remember you. You're the guy that drank the beer out of the shoe."
So now you have to do this every time, right?
No,
No?
it's PR only.
Oh, okay.
PR only.
PR only.
The only problem is I never run a 100K before.
Okay.
Kettle being a tough one for me.
Yeah.
Hennepin is extremely likely that I'm going to PR there.
Yeah.
Ooh, I want to make sure I'm at the finish line.
You got to get a picture. Yeah.
So, and it's sub 24 for Hennepin is the goal. So
Oh,
Nice.
good.
Yeah,
We'll
for
have
sure.
to show you the buckle here before you.
I've
Have you
seen
seen the buckle?
I've seen-
Okay, nice and
Trust
big.
me, I've seen it. It's on my radar.
And then you also get the big buckle for finishing both Kettle and Hennepin all in the same year. So
on
you get
my
the run
radar.
your ass off buckle.
It's on my radar.
Oh, very cool.
Exciting.
Super exciting. So yeah, that's kind of the story behind it, and actually did it at Milwaukee. I did Milwaukee Marathon as a training run this year. Had some friends that were running it, so I ran it, and not training for a marathon, I PR'd. So
Oh my god.
that was actually the
Yep.
start of it.
Yeah.
But this was the big one.
Yeah.
This was the big one. Yeah. And then I had to do it at Badger too because it was my first 50
Yeah.
mile.
Yeah, so it was a
Yep, you did
PR.
it.
It's just one after another now. I gotta start getting these times down so I'm not
Yeah,
PRing
pouring
every
in some
time.
better beer or something, right?
Why waste the good stuff?
Or
right?
changing
Oh, yeah, that's
shoes
true.
like 5 miles before the
Right,
finish line.
right.
Ooh, that's a
Yeah,
good
last
idea.
aid station.
I like
Sure.
that idea. How old
I
are
was
your
trying-
kids?
My kids are 14 and 16.
Oh.
Yep.
How fun for them to experience crewing you.
They
and-
absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So they did that one, and then I told them I was doing Titletown. I said, if you guys want, you can crew me again. Said it's just going to be YouTube, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. Yeah, we want to.
Oh, nice.
And then when I did Badger, they had actually been by their grandparents' house, and they went up that day, turned around, drove back, jumped in with me, drove down. I said, you guys don't have to come. And they said, we want to.
Oh,
Dad, we're coming.
fun.
So they came and did their own crewing for Badger. So they had to drive to aid stations, and they had a ball.
Good.
They had a ball. They loved it.
How fun.
Are
Yeah.
they going to start? Do they run?
They do not.
Okay.
They do not.
Are they
no.
inspired at all to?
I think they're inspired, but
Yeah.
I don't think they're inspired to run.
Well, that's okay. Inspire them to do stuff that they are
Yeah.
afraid
For sure.
of.
Crewing
yeah.
does that.
Yeah.
Crewing makes you just feel so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta believe I've never crewed a race. I've never been to a race without running it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm so fresh
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
I've never been, and I really want to crew. I want to pace. I want to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
But my time is so limited, and I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
But I really want to give back. I mean, I feel selfish for at this point not being able to give back, but it's on the radar. You and I talked about if I don't make Western States, maybe I'd go out and volunteer for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I plan on going out to volunteer.
Yeah.
So.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah. Although I'm going to miss Titletown because of it. I'm kind of bummed about that, but
Maybe you better rethink your priorities here.
I know. I really do. Well, I was going to go out and volunteer at the water crossing.
Yep.
And I just don't want to pass up that.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But it is Titletown.
But it is Titletown. I know.
And look at how awesome you did this year.
It was so much fun. Yeah.
You did awesome.
Well, thank
did
you.
awesome.
Yeah, Crystal, we'll have to get her there.
Yeah.
Not if I'm going to Western States with you guys.
Yeah, well, we'll have to do it the next year.
Okay.
Right.
So many great races.
I know.
I know.
We hope we get into either Western States or Leadville because I plan on being at both. So
Awesome.
hopefully
Yeah.
you're there.
Fingers crossed. I won't be at both. That I will say.
Well, I'll be at both.
Yeah.
Won't be running them, but
Well, Leadville's an easy drive. We just got back from there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an easy drive out there. It's busy. I mean, it's a unbelievable race. It's
Yeah.
like you have to want to finish and
Yeah.
fight to get
I
there.
think that's actually, I think that's probably the race that started me on ultra running. I think I saw a documentary somewhere
Yeah.
on YouTube or something that I was just like, holy crap, this is crazy. And then started looking into it, learning about Western states, learning about, all the big races. But I also found that, and I've never been to a big race, but I've also found that these races that I've done this year, the ultras I've done this year, I mean, I just can't even believe just the support and the people and just the overall environment at these races. Your race certainly, Kettle certainly wasn't a small event by any stretch, but just, the community driven, the trail community driven. I mean, the total package was just amazing.
Everybody gets really close on the trails.
Yeah. And I'm a lone wolf. I get out there. I train by myself, always by myself. I just get in my own head and clear it out and enjoy it. But I get out there and, people start, at first I was like, people are going to start talking to me and I don't want to talk to people. I just want to do my own thing. And once I got out there and rubbing elbows with people, and it was just like, I just loved everybody, It was just awesome to talk to people and learn what they're all about, what their travels have been. And it was just phenomenal. The trail community, and Michelle, you and I had talked about it before, and what the trail community is really like, and how it's different than road running. And it's just so enjoyable.
Yeah.
So enjoyable. If it wasn't so damn hard to train.
So what is your job? So it takes you away from work. So do you work a lot of hours?
Yep. I work at a car dealership. I put my fair share in, but I run the dealership, and I got some great people that are there when I'm not there. So I have to pick my spots when I can go, but when I do, I have people to take care of me. The owner, he is completely supportive. When I finished Kettle, they put up on the YouTube or on the Facebook page, they put a post up with my picture and congratulations, 100-mile run, Kettle Moraine, 26 hours, 41 minutes,
Nice.
Amazing job. And to be recognized like that by your company is just is amazing. I don't think a lot of people get that. And they afford me the time to, like I said, I pick my spots. I'm not trying to run a race every weekend, but they allow me the time to be able to do this for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Well, you're inspiring your kids and a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I'm not a me person, but I think that my journey has inspired some people, maybe even if not to run 100 miles or not to run 50 miles or even run a marathon, but just to get out there and just do something, because I used to be, probably 50, 60 pounds heavier and smoker and just not healthy at all. So I think some people saw the journey and it really meant something, which is great, not for me, but for them.
Yeah.
Well, good job on quit
that's
smoking
incredible.
and
Yeah. And like I said, I didn't start out running.
Yeah.
Started out by just going to the gym and just doing anything that I could. And it just blew up like wildfire.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
it felt good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. It felt awesome.
Yeah,
Felt awesome.
getting healthier and that's great.
And I guess that's one of the things that really drew me to trail and ultra running is that you can always get further. You can always go longer. You can always go longer. And, to get to that 100-mile mark, it was like just a huge step by step by step, 50K, it's kind of a 50-mile. And then right there to 100-mile.
yeah.
I kind of ruined it though, because my steps went too fast.
Yeah, you just
Now I'm at 100 miles and I don't have a whole lot of places to go.
I think that ultra runners, their brains work a little different than other people. They always jump.
Yeah.
You hear so many stories
Yep.
of
Yep.
people jumping
Yep.
all the distances and going.
And I always heard people saying, don't jump too fast. You don't need to go right from,
That's
Why
what
not?
you
not built
wanted.
like that.
Why not?
I had, and that's one thing about having Carrie to help me is she knows she's not going to put me in a position to hurt myself.
Yeah.
So I'm confident with the training plans that we put together, and I'm confident that I'm not going to get injured,
Yeah.
at least by overuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get her phone number because does she do online? Does she coach other people?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Does she have a website?
Yes.
Do you know it? We can get it later,
Yes.
and we'll
I'm
put
sure
it.
she has a
We'll put it
Facebook.
on.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
got Facebook.
Yes.
We'll make sure we get
Her
it on,
company
'cause-
is called On Pace, ONPACE.
Okay.
And she's a phenomenal coach. Phenomenal.
Well, obviously.
Look at me.
Living proof.
She made me through it. She can make anybody through it.
Well, that's great. Is there any advice that you would want to give somebody looking to get into ultra running, or 100-mile race, or just in general?
I think what I learned, and I wish it didn't take me as long as it did, but I think I learned that if you have the access to trails, and maybe everybody's not the same, but if you have access to trails, get out there and try it out. I wish if I would have known about trails years ago, I would have been out there in a heartbeat, because just being out there is just a totally different experience. It makes for a totally different running experience, but especially race day experience. And I just say, start small and just
And then
just
go
be
big.
smart.
Yeah.
Just be smart.
Start small and skip all the distances. And
I don't think that's good advice,
right
but that's what I want to say. But I had a coach. I know probably a lot of people in the trail community probably don't get coaches, and it's probably, not the way that most people are wired. But to me, starting out, I won't say I failed at marathon running, but I never got any better. My PR was my first time. I never got any better because I didn't know what I was doing. So it did help me out a lot. But in general, getting out there is just put the miles in.
Yeah.
I just like to get out there and put as many miles on as I can.
yeah.
So yeah, I would just say that to get out and run trails. That would be really the main thing I would tell people, and the rest is going to take care of itself. The technical stuff, how many miles you should run and stuff like that. There's something to all that, but really for me, if I could just get out there and run trails, the rest is just going to take care of itself. Some people want to run a 50K. Some people want to run 100 miles. Some people want to run 200 miles. Some people just want to get out there and run. I think I'm becoming more of I just want to go out there and run, but then I get the carrot dangling in front that
Yeah.
I got to be prepared for that. But I think it's just a totally different environment just to be able to get out there and just enjoy nature. And I moved to Green Bay from Las Vegas, so
Really?
I was big into the big city. I grew up in a tiny town, got to experience a big city, did that whole thing, but then dwindled it all right back down to being basically right in the environment that I grew up in, which is in the woods.
Yeah.
Being out there with nature, and it's just been a great experience to be able to get out there. One piece of advice, I'd just say watch your feet.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, I sure did shuffle and I sure did fall a lot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So pick up your feet because
Yep.
Watch your feet. Yep.
those little rocks just grab
Yeah,
your
they
toes.
just sneak up on you.
The
don't
little
they?
roots.
Yep.
Yep, for sure. But I can say that if you want the greatest experience of your life, train your butt off, run a 100-mile race, and see what you feel like afterwards.
Drink a beer
Yeah.
out of your shoe at the end, right?
That's not advised, but yeah.
There's
Yeah.
no high like 100-mile finish line high.
It's true.
I I always say, I don't know that I'm ever going to, I'll chase that high forever.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
chase that high forever and probably never find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's just all the culmination of all the things that added up to being such a magical experience. The greatest day of my life.
Yeah.
Greatest day of my life. Sorry, kids.
Sorry, guys.
They were there.
Yes. But I tell people that was the greatest day of my life. Michelle, you made it happen. The greatest day of my life.
Yay,
And Crystal. She
And
was a huge
Crystal.
part
Oh,
of
yeah,
it.
I
And
was there.
I mean, obviously the whole
Everybody.
All the
So many
I mean, the
people.
volunteers.
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
they all absolutely contributed to it 100%. But all in all, the greatest day of my life.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, we're so proud of you.
We are.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Thank
and I'm
you.
so glad that you're
Are you
part of
wearing
the
your buckle
community.
today?
I am.
Oh, good. Can we see it?
Let's see the buckle.
Can you face the
Woo!
camera there?
Buckle.
Nice. It looks good. It holds those pants up great.
That's a nice buckle.
It is. It is. And that was a, when you released the picture of the buckle, that was when I was like,
Yeah. They are nice.
there ain't no stopping me now. Yeah, it just capped it off
Yeah, well,
when
really
you handed
cool.
that buckle to me.
The
yeah.
hennepin buckle is
Oh, yeah.
amazing too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
I-
and like I said, I don't know that I'll ever have that feeling again, but
Let's try.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will try repeatedly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you.
out. What are you
Absolutely.
doing after this?
Driving back to Green Bay.
All right.
I'm going to Lou Malnati's
Lou Malnati's.
first
Good.
and get myself a big fat pizza. I ran 50 miles over the weekend, so I figured I could probably
earned that pizza.
Yeah.
and then yeah, eat my pizza, take some home for my kids because they love it, and drive 3.5 hours back.
Nice.
Well, good. Well, if you ever need a buddy to go to Lou Malnati's with you,
Just let us know.
For sure. Absolutely.
well, thank you so much
Thank
for coming.
you.
For sure. And I got to tell you that I was like extremely, extremely honored that you would invite me here to your home to discuss what I love to do best, running, trail running. Just the fact that all the thousands of runners that you know and you invited me here is just like a huge honor. I really look
thank
up to you. You've, since I signed up for Kettle, message back and forth, finally got to meet you at the race, but I really look up to you and what your thoughts are on what you're looking out for the runners, the volunteers, looking out for everybody, looking out for the trail community, looking out for the running community. I mean, I really look up to you a lot, and the fact that you thought I was enough to bring me here was pretty awesome. So I really appreciate you inviting me.
Oh, well, that's so nice
Yay,
of you
Michelle.
to say. Thank you. You just want me to cry again? He's trying to bring back that 100-mile high.
Right. One piece at a time.
Yeah.
Well, you stole part of our heart at the finish line, so it's been really good getting to know you.
Thank you. It's been great, and
we're gonna have more adventures.
we're gonna have
Yep.
plenty of adventures
Lots of
going
adventures.
forward. Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm thinking Leadville
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
because we know we're going.
Right?
Now that we know what we're doing,
Yeah.
we'll be awesome at it.
Do you need crew?
Need some crew.
Yeah, I think we'll have lots of adventures together.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You have a safe drive
All right.
and
Awesome.
enjoy your pizza.
Enjoy your pizza.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank
Thank you.
you.